Well, I am back at the park today, again on the 21st of June, Father's Day, around after church time. I want to talk to you about something. Who are you? Do you know yourself? You know who you are? That's kind of a loaded question, huh? Not too long ago, I used to be an incredible people pleaser. I would be a social chameleon, if you will. I would make adjustments to my personality, hide different aspects about myself, increase others, depending on who I was around. That's exhausting. It really, really is. It left me bitter, overstimulated, and all around not in the best spots. And then I didn't really know who I was. I just knew what masks I could put on. There were very few people who I was ever myself around. That frightened me a few months ago. I just want to know if you think you know who you are, because God certainly does. I think I used to fight against the idea of pure solitude, of not being with somebody. And I went from being with and talking to somebody every single day to losing them and about half of my other close friends that I talk to frequently. Not quite overnight, but in a very short amount of time. In that short amount of time, the song from The Greatest Showman comes to mind. There's a song called From Now On, and the lyrics at the start of the song says, "A man learns who is there for him when the glitter fades and the walls won't hold." Now, I know that that's about fame and fortune and having things, but I interpreted that at that time in my journey as more of social walls. When I had these walls up around certain bits of me so that I didn't offend anybody, so that I didn't have all of me on perfect display all the time. And the detriment of always being the social chameleon, well, first off, there's a lot of positives. Everybody thinks you're hilarious. Everybody likes you. Everybody wants attention from you. And that feeling goes straight to your head. It's intoxicating. It's an incredible feeling to be wanted. So, we know why we tend to become these social chameleons, to put on these masks or these faces. But what happens when you don't? Have you ever tried? There's a gaggle of Canadian geese running across the path, and they look ridiculous. They are just above pullets, I would say. So I think you can call geese pullets. But they look ridiculous. They just ran across and they're waddling. They're not graceful. and they don't care. They don't care what I think. That was maybe a little bit of a stretch. Turn the geese into a tool for devotion. When you drop those walls, when you stop putting on those faces, when you stop putting in that effort, it's jarring to people. And that's where you can experience true growth as a person. But you also experience a lot of pruning. I feel the need to add in here that this pruning that I'm talking about was not what caused my start of my radical growth in my spirit and who I am as an individual. This was as a consequence, not what started it. This was about the midpoint in which I realized that people were beginning to act differently as I began to not change who I was, but drop into who I realized I truly was. The fruit tree bears the best fruit when the useless branches are chopped off. Now that's a little harsh, and I would be lying if I said that there wasn't some underlying neuroticism towards certain individuals in my life that pruned themselves out due to me beginning to show who I truly was and not trying to perform. Um, that rawness, that honesty, that drive to be a better person is really scary to a lot of people. And I didn't know that. And you find out really quickly when you decide to stop trying to put on a mask, put on a face, put up a wall. And I think it's jarring because they're used to you bending over to them. And now, when I describe this, it sounds like these people were truly awful, but that's not what I want to get across. These people who will react differently to you when you do this are not bad people. Because if you had somebody who was shaping themselves into the person that you wanted them to be, conscious or subconscious, you'd really like that. I bet. I bet you'd really like that. Because, well, if they're any good at it, at least. And let me tell you, I was pretty good at it. A little bit of a rabbit trail. I have ADHD, if you didn't know. What I said earlier was I used to think that always had to have people around you, always had to be with somebody. I was not in silence and solitude for about the past 5 years. I always had some sort of stimulation, YouTube video going in the background, audio book, scrolling on Instagram, on some sort of social media, some sort of something. And I didn't just let myself be. I had to have something constantly. And 2.5 months ago, I went to sleep with no stimulation, no video in the background, no fan on to block the noise, just me and the room. The first time you do that, it's a little startling how much noise there is in your room. There's papers rustling, there's clinking of chains from the ceiling fan. There's so much happening. You hear everything. And when you drop down those walls, when you're by yourself or in any situation, you become so much more aware of what's truly there. I have changed my viewpoint. I now firmly believe that one of the only ways you can truly get to know yourself is by forcing yourself into solitude, into an agonizing, um, hermiting, I guess. Pushing yourself out of what you deem as normal, and pushing yourself into alone time with just you and God. And that's when you can truly figure out who you are. When you fall and when you fail, who do you go back to? What things do you lean on in times of strife? Are they the fruits of the Spirit? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control? Or is it other things? I think the only way to truly find out what it is that you go back to and what it is that you find important, and thusly who you are as a person, as a in your soul, is to be in that silence, to be alone, go on a walk, connect with what truly matters. But I can't tell you what truly matters to you. You have to find that out. You have to figure that out for yourself. All I can tell you is this: take time to yourself. Jesus did it. The amount of times that Jesus was in the middle of a crowd and he said, "Hey man, I'd really like to not be here. I'm going to go up to a mountain and just pray. I'm going to go up to a mountain and I'm going to talk. I'm going to go into a garden and I'm going to just chill. While we're on this boat ride, I'm going to just go take a nap." Because Jesus liked to be alone. I think that, as I said previously, 100% man, 100% God, kind of like almost like a plan for how you can live your life. If you're having a problem, people always say those little cheesy bracelets. What would Jesus do? I mean, people say there isn't really a guidebook for life, but the more I read it, the more I realize there is, and it's called the Bible. Even if you are not a Christian, even if you do not believe, there's a lot of things in there that you could glean. A lot of lessons about being a human, being a person, that might be helpful. So, I encourage you to take time for yourself, separate, no stimulation, no anything. And I know that it feels really scary, but just sit with your thoughts. figure out what or who you are. And once you figure that out, the speed of your growth is truly unimaginable. I hope you have a blessed day. Be kind to yourself.